Thank you. Electricity and me, we have a great relationship. We're pretty dynamic together. We can illuminate a situation, we can energize a room, we can throw a lightning bolt down, but you know, it's probably better if we're grounded. What happens when you grab that refrigerator door handle and it's not quite grounded? You kind of go, oh, yeah. Or if you've ever been lucky enough to work a screwdriver on that switch plate and it accidentally moves a little bit and you get popped. Being grounded keeps us safe. So when you use your hair dryer and you hear that popping noise, something's shutting off to keep you safe. Or when mom and dad go a little overboard on the Christmas lights and you start vacuuming and it stops and everything goes dark. Grounding keeps me and electricity in a harmonious relationship. But what if I told you that you yourself have a grounding switch? Ooh, fireworks. You ever thought about that? Grounding keeps everything safe. So when I was your age, I knew exactly what I wanted to be. Thank you very much. And I knew exactly how I was going to get there. And I would even argue with my parents. Filling out college applications, my mother would say, no, don't check that box. And I'd say, yes, I'm going to be an architect. And I would check that box in my head, and I'd check it on those college applications. And one day, I was sitting around, mail came. Back then, the mail came in a box. You walked out to the driveway, and you took it out. And I got an acceptance letter from a college that I had looked at. I had really liked the campus. Didn't think much about it. And I opened it up, and it said, we'd love to have you. It was an all-women's college that did not have an architecture school. And I accepted. So far, my plan has now gone off the rails. Not only did I go, but I had a plan. Still had a plan. I was going to go for 2 years. I was going to transfer to Georgia Tech, and I was going to get my degree in architecture. And all was going to be well, and we were going to graduate, and I was going to have a lovely life. Guess what? I stayed all 4 years. And I ended up getting a degree in a subset of architecture. And as I walked across the stage in 1989, that would be 1989, not 1899, I was one of 2 graduates at a class of 300 that had a job. And it was not in an architecture firm. It was at a university, and I was going to be their interior designer. Not decorator, I wasn't picking pillows. I was designing classrooms. Wow. So far, the plan is not what I had drawn out. That electrical plan was all a mess of wires. But why was I so calm? There's a place in North Carolina. It's out in the middle of nowhere, Appalachia. And in this place was a farm. Generations. 1680, as a matter of fact, was the year that this area was settled. And this family had, they built their own home, 1930s. Farmed it, went out and called to the mules, all 4 of them named Bob. All 4 mules named Bob, smart man. You called for a mule and he came. And they didn't wear shoes. And in this time, the missionaries came into the mountains. And they set up a 1-room schoolhouse. And the families came together. Mind you, by this point, people had not really even gone as far as the 4th grade. And this young boy who wore faded overalls and maybe wore shoes on a good Sunday, farmed during the day and read these amazing books on the world at night. And he was ignited. And the next thing you know, he's walking down the dirt road and he's getting into probably what was a cart, maybe a bus, going into town to this beautiful River Rock High School. And he started pole vaulting. Mind you, he was only my height. And he studied hard. And the next thing you know, he had a scholarship to the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. Plan's going pretty good, right? Laid it out, Mom and Dad said, to get out of these mountains, boy, you got to do this. World War II hit. Took him out of graduate school, got married, had a child he never saw until the end of the war. Came back, finished graduate school, and ended up being the chancellor at a very well-known university. That plan was kind of mushy at this point, right? That's what you're thinking, right? Things aren't going right. How can we get out of this? Robert was 2 months old when his mother died. 2 months later, his father died in what would be the 1897 Russian flu, which was the first pandemic in the United States. He was raised by his uncle. Wasn't real happy about it, that's for sure. And he would give his children, Robert's cousins, beautiful new toys at Christmas. And Robert would get one shiny penny. Not exactly a great childhood, right? Bringing in these wonderful kids and not where we're going. Robert made a choice and he said, I'm going to have a great family. And he did. He married. And he had 2 beautiful children. And then he had grandchildren. And as a matter of fact, he was able to see his granddaughter graduate from high school and go to college before he passed away. He made a decision to create something new. So how, again, can I say, how did I pivot? How did I do this? It was not in the plan for me to wake up one day and be working in a historic theater. And I stayed 15 years. And then I jumped and I went to another nationally known historic theater, the busiest theater in the state of South Carolina at 400 seats. And I went to the tower one day and I looked out on the landscape and I saw everything we touched and said, you know what? We're going to have a NASA STEAM camp. We're going to bring in Dr. Bradner. Because that makes sense for a performing arts center, right? How about little kids with the dirt all over the lobby floor digging for dinosaurs? That makes sense, right? That's what you think of as a performing arts center, right? Or how about having the Smithsonian come in and use your lobby to talk about rural America? Not what you think of, right? So all these little plans that we draw out for ourselves go into this, what we think might be our panel box. And it doesn't, when you pull that off and you see everything behind it, it's a mess of wires. But what's the consistent point? The wire, it's strong, it's malleable, it takes the energy. It took 14,000 people for me to be right here today. 14,000 people in the right place, meeting at the right time, having just the right amount of babies for me to be here. Think of all those wires that are coming in from the outside that you're taking in, and you're that box. And what you're putting out there, your energy. Think about it like your house. It's going to a TV, it's going to a toaster, it's going to things that you guys probably power with electricity that I don't even know about. But what is the switch that says, this isn't the plan, and it is okay? Those 2 gentlemen are my family. And when I have the worst day I can think of, that grounding switch pops. Just like it's overloaded. All this stuff coming in. And you're trying to do all this stuff going out. And it pops. Listen to it. Breathe. What is important? I want to challenge you to find your own wires. Cultivate the wires that go out, the energy that goes out. And I want you to explore and ask about the wires that come in. What are those 14,000 stories that can be your trigger to stop and think and breathe? On your worst day, I know that I can get through it because my grandmother was sweeping up corn kernels on a mill floor to just eat during the Depression. I can do this math class. Cultivate your box. Find your grounding mechanism. What does the sweet grass smell like as the breeze comes through my hair? I can go put my feet in that place in North Carolina. But I can do it up here too. I'm that box. I'm that grounding mechanism between what's coming in and what's going out. So as you look to your future, Make sure you're grounded. Make sure you know your story so you can take that energy and move it outwards. So as you lift off, remember to stay grounded. But I challenge you to go shock yourself. Thank you.